Carpathians, a 190,000 square kilometre wilderness weaving across 7 countries, through Poland, Slovakia, Romania and the Ukraine. This vast, untamed region is home to most of Europe's surviving large carnivores and its last great forest. More than half of this ancient mountain range lies within modern-day Romania. Here, man has lived in harmony with nature for millennia. But today, that delicate balance is under threat from neglect and ruthless exploitation.
In this, the final episode of Wild Carpathia, we'll follow the changing seasons from the ripe glory of autumn through the depths of the winter to the first flush of spring, and witness a landscape of unparalleled beauty, a world of vivid colours and timeless traditions. We'll also show once and for all why Romania is the custodian of a priceless treasure and ways in which we can all help to protect it.
Autumn in the foothills of Carpathia is a time of plenty. As the fruit ripens on the tree and the fields turn to gold, humans and animals race to gather everything edible before the onset of winter. These are scenes that have played out unchanged for thousands of years. While the Romanian lowlands are now given over to intensive, modern agriculture, here in the foothills, traditional farming techniques still preserve the incredible biodiversity endemic to this region. The onset of autumn is also a time for celebration, as the rich bounty of these fertile hills, meadows and forests is brought to market.
As the livestock, the cattle, the sheep and the goats are brought down from the mountain and in some cases end up here on the table, this becomes a very important time of year because all over the country right now, harvest festivals are occurring and people are preparing for winter. So this is the time when they bring home the bacon, quite literally.
Within weeks, thousands of square miles of mixed forest are transformed for a brief moment to burnished red, copper and gold. There is no other place in Europe where you can appreciate such a blaze of arboreal colour, and on such a majestic scale. There is also no time of year when man comes into closer proximity with our rivals in the food chain. While people are filling their freezers, Romania's endangered large carnivores are also busy storing up enough fat reserves to carry them through the winter. Bears come down to the villages and scrump apples from the orchards, but this also leads to close encounters with livestock that can have unfortunate results for all concerned. To protect both parties, sometimes bears are relocated, or if they become too domestic, then there are now several bear sanctuaries like this one in Zarnești, which provides a home for bears that have been abused as pets, or kept in captivity, or those that have lost their fear of man. Whilst none of these bears can ever be released, they do get to live out their days in spacious grounds, with natural surroundings and food on tap. The Ursian equivalent of a 5-star hotel. Small compensation, but at least safe from the further predations of man. Elsewhere, progressive hotels and eco-lodges are taking advantage of our growing fascination with Europe's largest carnivore. And places like the Mikesh estate in Zabala offer guests the chance to spot bears in the wild. With almost 2,000 hectares of surrounding forest protected from logging and hunting, Mikesh has created a sanctuary for wildlife, which is also drawing visitors from all over the world. I caught up with gamekeeper turned warden Levente, who spends his spare time shooting fauna with video, stills and a motion sensor camera.
I spending many time here in the forest and making photo, and I put this camera here because I know here when it's winter coming here down the bear and deer and stag and the predators hunting here this area. Here I see this winter wildcat and lynx.
A lynx?
Lynx footprints, yes.
That would be unbelievably exciting, but it's very hard to ever see lynx. They're like ghosts,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yes.
2 burrows there. So this would be like the front patio. Obviously it's going to start recording me now.
Yes, you are the first.
I'm the first bit of wildlife.
Yes.
Camouflage, great idea. So the batteries will last at
Yes.
least a week.
Yes.
Okay, well we'll keep our fingers crossed and see what we get.
Okay.
The Mikesh estate styles itself as a high-end tourist destination. With 2 existing lodges, a converted stables, a boating lake and a manor house under restoration, this is a far cry from the ruin owner Alex Chowdhury and his brother Gregor confronted when they first had their property restituted in 1998. The castle and surrounding forest has been in the family for generations prior to the communist regime. But only in the last few years have they been able to open their gates to the public.
These possibilities in tourism, they were never there in this extent. Nowadays we are talking about having sustainable tourism on our property, every property. This was never possible 50 years ago here in this country. It's the first time it's possible, and I think this is a future scenario. Everybody's owning a piece of forest, everybody's owning a piece of land, everybody would have a farmhouse. So you have capacity here, you have everything here you need to start up a business like this. And this would be my most beautiful scenario. You have the Provence, you have Tuscany. This could become a very interesting, well-known European tourism destination.
While the historic appeal of rural Romania is beginning to be discovered by the outside world, it goes way further back than the days of the Saxons, Vlad Tepes, or even Stephen the Great. Civilizations and cultures have existed here for millennia, and evidence of early Neolithic settlement can still be seen in the hills above Kolts. These cave houses were hewn by hand from bare rock, often high in the cliffs, and remain cloaked in mystery to this day. But it is still the appeal of the forest and a chance to reconnect with nature that is drawing people to this part of the Carpathians. While many areas are being ruined by the spread of cement and concrete culture, there are more and more projects that are trying to harmonize with the surrounding landscape. Take this treehouse complex near Predal, which has appealed to so many people it's often booked for months in advance.
What's really stupid is that it's harder to get planning permission for a building like this than for an ugly modern concrete hotel. When these tree houses were first constructed, the local authorities insisted they were taken down and imposed a fine. It's only because they managed to get them redesignated as a temporary structure that they're still here. What would you rather see in a forest? A building that involves cutting down the trees and leaving a scar on the landscape, or something that blends effortlessly with it? It's not rocket science.
But the success of tourism in the Carpathians depends mostly on restoration and preservation, rather than new development. Situated in the foothills near Sighisoara is a small Saxon village, which is creating a role model for other historic communities.
We discovered Kund through my father, who came here with relief goods in '89 and fell in love with the area. The same happened to me and my wife when we came traveling to Transylvania. We decided to sell our property in Germany, move here, and to set up a small guest house. When we bought the first house here to turn it into a holiday home, the people in the village thought, well, this looks like a nice idea. They also had homes they renovated for guests to come. We were letting them out for them. And for us, it was a great way to be integrated in the community and also to bring a little bit of prosperity to it. It worked tremendously well, and 4 years later, we decided on building and opening a small restaurant in the village.
What changes have you noticed in the community since you first moved here?
Well, I think the most striking change is the composition of the village. People have started to move back into the village. More younger people are staying here now. By being able to offer jobs to people, the community is remaining intact. So people are not leaving. In neighboring village, we are seeing this trend. Another thing is that the houses are being renovated, of course, not only the houses which are for rent, but also their own houses. People are taking more care of them. You can see quite a few splashes of fresh color on the houses, and that's something that we are extremely happy about, to see that renovating houses is inspiring other people to do the same thing.
And you've trained up quite a lot of people. I mean, indirectly or indirectly, there are quite a few people that work for Valley Verde, aren't there?
We are employing at the moment 24 people on a full-time basis all year round. So we bring in people from the next again village now, because Kunde has only 120 people inhabitants.
The success of a location like this also depends on the range of activities it offers, like truffle hunting, for instance. This and similar culinary-related adventures have made Valley Verde a popular destination, particularly with gastronomes.
We have a very international clientele, about 50% Romanians, 50% of foreigners. Among the Romanians, the people who are coming are people who love their country, who like to rediscover their roots, the beauty of their own country. Foreigners are looking for the last unspoiled wilderness in Europe.
What's the secret?
I think there are some key factors. First one is authenticity, not doing something that doesn't belong into the area. We love that village. This is why we're here. We don't want to turn it into anything else. It's not meant to be like a Mickey Mouse resort or something like that. The second point for us was Romanians have a wonderful personal hospitality. We managed to develop that element to transform the personal into the professional side. I think that's another very important thing. And education, education, education. So training our people, training the chefs in the kitchen, training the waiters, training the craftsmen who work with us, and constantly evolving, I think, is something that contributes to the success we are having.
Winter transforms Carpathia into a different world. Temperatures here regularly drop to as low as -25, and for man and animals alike, staying warm and well fed is vital for survival. For these bison, a species hunted to extinction hundreds of years ago, but now happily back in several regions across the country, some extra help is still needed through the coldest months. This rewilding project near Armeniș, and others like it, aims to reintroduce bison and re-acclimatize them to surviving in the wild. It is hoped that their presence will further enhance biodiversity and help regulate forest and alpine pastures. The process of filling your larder for winter is so ingrained in the collective mind that it has almost ritualistic symbolism for many of the people living in the Carpathians. Here in the Maramureș, the annual pre-Christmas pig slaughter is a time for celebration and an event in itself.
Mariuka, this is a pagan tradition originally, isn't it?
Yes. Eu de când mă știu, tăiatul porcului era ceva frecvent an de an. Ce e important de știut este faptul că acest obicei este păgân. De ce? Pentru că s-au descoperit în Sighetul Marmației un templu dacic, cum se sacrificau porți în această perioadă de Crăciun. Era, de fapt, sacrificarea adunată și dată, închinată zeilor. Ce e de ținut minte este faptul că porcul, pe lângă faptul că este un obicei tradițional, noi mai mult îl folosim pe parcursul unui an întreg ca și hrană. Pentru că se fac cârnați, se fac cartaboși, se fac jumere, șoldul din spate se duce perioada Paștelui chiar la Sfințit. Adică nu există, cele mai importante sărbători de peste an nu pot exista fără porc. Numai un om care nu-i harnic, să zic așa, nu taie porcul în această perioadă.
Nu, m-am venit cu fundul. Pune-te la aici, pune-te la aici. Nu, el aici.
And it would have taken place around the solstice rather
Yes.
than Christmas, so a little earlier.
Yes. Deci se taie în solstițiul de iarnă. De ce? În primul rând pentru faptul că avem nevoie de o perioadă mai răcoroasă, avem nevoie de frig pentru ca să nu se strice carnea. Iar pe lângă asta, ca să stea la afumat într-un mod tradițional, ai nevoie de o perioadă rece și de fum efectiv care să urce pe el. Și atunci trebuie să fie o perioadă rece afară. O să vedeți dacă o să ajungem și la perioada când se urcă cârnații și se afumă în mod tradițional, o să vedeți că ei stau efectiv agățați pe o singură botă. Dacă e cald afară, ei se strică.
Roza, mă, ce bună e, mai așa n-am mâncat-o reace încă. O, ce șod avem de faci, mănii? Una zi bun. Așa, că pe să-l punem până la Paști, nu umblă nimeni la el.
Once the meat has been prepared and packed away, the community gathers for a traditional feast in time-honoured fashion.
I think this is something that we've lost in Western Europe society. We don't understand where our food comes from, and we don't recognise what's involved in bringing it to the table. It was quite traumatic seeing the pig being slaughtered this morning, but they don't waste a single bit of it, and this provides a feast for the whole of Christmas. So I think without further ado, better go join in. Thank you. Good luck.
Christmas in Romania is celebrated with a bit more gusto than in many other parts of Europe. The need for warmth, food and friendship to help get you through the Siberian conditions has sustained a close sense of community, and towns and cities across the country compete for the brightest and most colourful festivities. One city that affords access to some of the more vertiginous areas of the Carpathians is Sibiu, voted European City of Culture 2007 and famed for its stunning Saxon architecture. It also makes a good base camp for forays into the snow-clad Fagarash Mountains that form a great wall to the south of the city. Here, amidst lofty peaks, exists a rather different example of an eco-lodge, and one that has almost zero impact on the environment. Romania's famous ice hotel is only here for a few months each year, and is annually reinvented with new themes and freshly carved rooms. Other parts of the Carpathians are less accessible during the snowy months and demand more than a sturdy pair of boots and warm clothing. Enough food and plenty of fresh water is essential to maintain energy levels in the face of freezing temperatures.
Like this ferrous mineral spring. You can see from the rust colour as it runs away down into the river. 100% pure mineral water bubbling from deep underground. I do mean bubbling. It comes out pre-carbonated. Extraordinary. Just need a slice of lemon and some gin.
The risk of avalanches can also make hiking a precarious pastime. However, the rewards justify the extra trouble and research needed. And against the brilliant white backdrop, there's always the faint possibility of spotting a predator or two.
Although the Rodna Mountains are purportedly teeming with wolves, when you get up here and see the scale of this national park, you realise it's a bit like looking for a needle in a haystack. Admittedly, a very beautiful haystack. I think that's the point. It's the journey that matters. I'm just lucky to be here.
As the snows melt and the first flowers push up from the forest floor, these mountains are transformed once again. it's time for the shepherds to saddle their mules and drive their flocks back up the mountain in search of fresh pasture and lush alpine meadows. The land comes back to life, and carnivores and their prey venture forth in search of readily available supplies of food. The European brown bear, despite official statistics, is a species in decline. Legal and illegal hunting and the destruction of their habitat could mean that in a few generations they will be extinct here as they are in most other countries. With more protected areas, green corridors and a ban on game hunting of large predators, this outcome could be prevented, and Carpathia will continue to provide a safe habitat for this majestic animal. With temperatures rising, it was time to return to Zabala and see if Levente had been having any success with our camera trap.
The moment of truth, Levente.
Yes.
Okay, you've got the memory card there.
Yes.
So this is the first one.
It's a white ball family.
Wild boar.
Yes.
Look at them, they're completely oblivious to the camera, aren't they? Wildcat, yeah?
Wildcat, yes. This is a male, it's a big one.
Would they breed with domestic cats? Would they come down and breed?
They come down here in the village
And have a
Yes.
go at the local ladies?
yes.
But the female wildcats, they don't breed with the male toms? Or
No. Just the male come here.
Just
in
the males?
Yes.
So the actual wildcat population stays pure?
Yes.
So we've got a fox, badger, and a wildcat. We want something bigger. No, you're joking. Don't. No. Is that what I think it is?
Lynx.
No.
Yes.
No, we've got a lynx.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God. You knew this, didn't you?
No.
Did you know this?
This
I
is a
cannot believe
young
it. Look
yes.
at it. Well, this is the holy grail of large predators to film and catch on camera in Romania.
Yes. I know here lives this forest, but
Yeah.
not easy to see.
I mean, we know they're there. It's like a wolf. You know they're there, but to actually see one.
Is many people lives here in the village and all life don't see lynx and wolves. Not, it's too smart. It's a predator. It's not coming here.
It's huge, though. I mean, you know, it's big as a Labrador.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. 40 kilo maximum.
Why is it that animals always show you their arse on camera? The moment you've got a camera, they just point their bottom at the camera.
Yes.
You never see their head. You must find this, right?
Yes.
Come on, turn around, turn around. No, don't leave. Look, bit of chin. Oh, that's so frustrating. But it's amazing we've got him.
Yes.
This is the thing about the Carpathian forests. You know, they're so dense and so extensive. And they're full of wildlife, but very often you never see it, but you know it's there.
Yes.
And we need to keep it that way.
For the people living high in the Carpathians, the onset of spring provides a chance to restock and return to civilization. Many settlements are cut off for much of the winter, and the return to sunshine and warm weather means an end to long months of isolation. I joined local guide Ili Radoy in the Cherna Mountains for a trek to the tiny village of Inelets and to see how and why people still choose to live in such remote communities.
Okay, so this is where the fun starts.
Yeah, we are going to the hamlet.
And the main way up and down is through this.
Yeah, it's the fastest way to go down from the hamlets to road to main city from this valley.
So if you want to come and do a bit of shopping, buying some groceries, they take their backpacks and they hike down here.
Each day.
Not each day, surely.
For one of them, yeah, each day.
Really? I think it must be hard for some people to imagine why they choose to live like this?
I think that they are choosing to stay here because they are feeling that they belong here and this is their house. The human being in connection with nature, and this is great. Imagine it's like a stairway to heaven.
A very rickety stairway. to heaven.
Yeah, but it's a very original way.
No, absolutely. There's nothing not authentic about this.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Okay.
How many relatives have you got still living here?
Almost 20.
Really?
There are relatives from my grandfather
Just in Aletsa or in other villages around the area?
around the area, the whole village.
So really, this has been a place you've been coming to all your life?
Yeah, in the last 3 years I come each weekly here.
Not a bad job bringing people up here for a living.
No, it's great. It's great to come here weekly. I feel full of energy. I like to come here and to enjoy the nature, the view, the food and the people. The people have different values than in the city, big city. So this is the school. And in 2015, they have 50 years of learning here.
How many children?
Now there are almost 20 here, but the school there are 4.
So the other kids get school down in the town?
Yeah, or they are much bigger. We have 4 children and 4 computers.
4 computers?
Yeah, they are online.
So they've got the internet here as well?
Yeah, of course. They are just like in a private school here.
And presumably they get very good education because there's only 4 of them. So the teacher gives them the full attention.
Exactly, this is good.
How does the teacher get up and down?
She's coming now, she's the teacher, and she's coming Monday and leaving from here Friday.
Okay, so she actually sleeps in the
Yeah.
school. It's a boarding school.
Yeah.
It's a little boarding school.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Alo, să rămână! Bună ziua, bună ziua, bună ziua!
Mulțumim!
Ce faceți? Hai să vă pup!
De
Am venit
acasă.
acum cu
Sorona?
prieten, cu Charlie.
Mulțumim!
Îmi pare bine?
Îmi pare bine că ați venit.
Mulțumim, mulțumim.
frumos.
Intrăm, mergem, Tușo, după duntale? Da, mulțumim, mulțumim, Tușo.
Cu plăcere, cu plăcere.
So, how long have you lived here?
De 60 de ani de când am venit la bărbat. M-am căsătorit cu el și m-am făcut casă, m-am făcut copii și am bătrânit aici.
It must be quite hard living here. Surely it would be easier to move to Bali Herculani.
Greutăți am avut, că am trebuit să-mi fac casă, grajduri, cum s-a dus el la noi, că noi n-am avut și a trebuit să le vând toate și vedeți, toate din mâna mea și a bărbatului și a lui socrii. Așa m-am învățat și aici îmi place, nu în Herculani, să trag mașini, să am zgomot. Când stau câte să stau liniștite. Mă înșie și aerul curat și mă simt bine.
How often do you leave the village?
Nu coborâm des, la o săptămână, o la 2, o la 3, cum le apucă, că nu putem să coborâm în tot timpul.
What about healthcare? Do they send doctors here?
Nu vine, le duce noi jos. Aici nu vine el, că nu are la ce să vină, că nu poate vine urca cu mașina, dar le ducem noi, coborâm noi. Dar el, dacă avem nevoie de el, dacă nu, nu.
Okay.
Că nu, că aici trăim la aer.
And how do you feel about tourists coming to the village?
Ne pare bine că-i vedem, stăm cu ei de vorbă, le întreabă ce facem, ce lucrăm, se duc mai departe, iar întorc.
Is it sad seeing people leaving?
Da, au plecat și neamuri, au plecat și cumnat și cumnate, au plecat cam mulți. Și când stai să te gândești, parcă-i pustin. Unii s-au dus la oraș, unii s-au dus la moarte, cum au dus, s-au dus de... Și am murit cam singur, că nu prea este lume.
Nu?
Nu prea este. Și e urât acum, abia așteptăm să vină niște turiști să mai putem să mai vorbim și noi. Acum și mai ies, vreo 20, 30, dacă mai ies, dar nu mai ies. S-au părăsit, ori plecat, s-au dus la oraș, tineriatul nu mai vrea să șadă, nu-i place munca, nu-i place vicele. Noi am ținut oaie, vacă, capră. Ei nu mai vreau să țină nimic.
And what message would you give to the young people in Romania?
Îi transmit la toți vecinii, la neamuri, să vină la pământe, să lucre, cum am lucrat noi, bătrânii. Ați vrea să vină nepoții și vecinii, să fim mai mulți, să vină la muncă, să muncim toți împreună și să stăm și la un par de țuică, să bem.
Merci mult.
The prosperity of rural communities also has a direct effect on the environment. A healthy revenue from tourism means there are fewer incentives to make money from less sustainable activities. Despite its seemingly pristine wilderness, Romania currently loses nearly 10 million cubic meters of forest illegally every year. And while more and more people in the country are waking up to the decimation of their natural heritage at the hands of big Western companies, the rate of destruction is still growing. Campaigner and environmentalist Gabby Pound took me to one of thousands of affected areas.
That's astonishing, Gabby.
The whole mountain has been erased from the bottom of the valley to the top of the mountain.
And that's completely illegal, isn't it?
Absolutely illegal. It's a 35.4 hectares of forest being clear-cut in a couple of days, far away from people's eyes. Nobody knew what is going on. Nobody could hear the chainsaw. It's way too far from any human settlement.
Yeah.
It's so bad that there cannot be natural regeneration. Even if you try planting, the chances of success are very, very low.
And you can see where the soil erosion is already
It's all coming
kicking
down.
in
See,
from the
it's-
logging truck. It's going to be landslides.
It's too big. It's all coming down.
Yeah. I think we should try and get a bit
Let's
closer.
take a close look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can something like this be allowed to happen on this scale? I mean, so many people must have turned a blind eye to what's going on. The amount of machinery, people up here felling it. I mean, the local authorities must know.
It's not just local authorities. We have very poor legislation. As it is very complicated. Our controls are very weak. Sanctions are nothing. Those guys can be fined, but they will still exist, and they will cut the next day in another place, and they get richer by taking the wood than with a poor fine. We had this new forest code coming into force last year, which is trying to make better law enforcement and better checks. But you know, these forest thieves, they are very creative. The hunger of huge sawmills, of multinational corporations, which are so greedy they can eat up of 3 million cubic meters wood per year. We take pictures, we take footage, we collect scientific data, technical data from the field. We bring it to the media, we bring it to the authorities, and we push for better legislation and better enforcement.
Surely, you know, if you're disrupting business to a certain degree, they can make you disappear.
Corporation greed has no limits. They tried to kill me, and not once. Imagine a real situation when I was just taking a picture, starting to document an area, and suddenly a bunch of huge thugs came and started to kick and punch to kill. I was lucky with the diversion that I could manage to run away with a cracked head and broken ribs. So running away saved my life, because we are non-violent. We will never react, but they had so much anger.
I guess you've got to kind of be careful where you're going now and raising your head above the parapet.
Yes, but how can I go to sleep when I know that it's still happening? I know exactly what we have to lose. Europe lost most of its wilderness. This is not an issue of Romania anymore. This is an issue of all Europeans and global citizens. With all this destruction, the country is still the shelter for most of the virgin forest in the whole Europe. So I'm fighting for that. I will not go to sleep. I will have no rest until we save more of it.
Besides its ecological wealth, the Carpathian mountain range is perhaps the last region in Europe with an enduring historic legacy, although this is changing fast. Places that could become beacons for cultural tourism are compromised by a rash of concrete and cement. Writer and campaigner William Blacker, among many others, is fighting to protect Romania's best preserved villages from the rise of termite tourism.
William, when did you first come to Romania?
I came in January 1990, about 2 weeks after the revolution. I'd never been here before. I hadn't the faintest idea what I was going to find. I'd read a certain amount in the newspapers before I came about the revolution, and also previous to the revolution there had been in the British newspapers a lot about the destruction of historic villages. The reality that I found was very, very different. In fact, I found this great treasure trove of traditional buildings, all beautifully preserved, being lived in and used as they always had been.
Today, that's obviously changed quite a bit.
Yes, things have changed. A lot of houses have been destroyed, and that's, I think, is very sad. I mean, obviously that things do need to progress and people need to modernize their ways of life, and I think it would be extremely sad for Romanians in the future if the history of the country is destroyed and then they suddenly wake up and realize what they've done and it's too late.
But how does one go about protecting these communities?
Well, I don't think it's impossible to create hotels and guest houses which are in keeping with the local architecture. I mean, a lot of the things which the foundations that I work with are doing very much go in that direction, trying to persuade people to fit the buildings that they have and the architecture they have into the capabilities of creating rooms for people to stay in.
Tell me more about the work that you're personally involved in, with the charities you're working with, protecting the buildings and the architecture.
And we have a tile and brick kiln in the village of Apos near Agneto, which is a great success. It produces traditional handmade tiles and bricks, and they make a profit. Up until now, it was quite difficult to get these due to the competition for all the modern factories producing uniform, cheap tiles. All the old kilns had closed down. But actually, the funny thing is that you can actually produce the traditional ones at just about the same cost as the industrial ones. And they are the ones that, if you want to do this work in historic conservation, you have to use the traditional handmade tiles.
So, William, what is it you like the most about Romania in Romanian, please?
In Romanian? Ce-mi place cel mai mult? No, o viață liniștită, peisajul, pădurile, satele tradiționale, viața tradițională, o comunitate, o viață între oamenii care nu mai prea avem, nu avem acest lucru în Anglia. No, nu am fost niciodată într-o țară unde, de exemplu, poți să mergi să te plimbi în pădure, nimeni zice că nu ai voie să mergi acolo, te plimbi și e foarte liber aici viața în general și nu e stricat de la o modernitate urât.
Every year, spring in the Carpathians brings a steadily increasing number of cultural travellers who flood here to marvel at the beauty of the wild flowers and to stay in traditional comfort. En route to the still timeless allure of the Saxon villages, it's worth stopping off for a spell in the ancient city of Brașov to explore its architectural marvels, like the Black Church, its medieval fortress, or what is claimed to be the world's narrowest street. What also makes Brașov unique is its uncompromised proximity to a national park. In a matter of a few yards, the city finishes and the wilderness begins. For many people who come to Transylvania, the months of April, May and June hold the greatest appeal, for the simple chance to see perhaps the most vibrant display of wildflowers in Europe. Thanks to traditional farming techniques and an absence of pesticides and fertilizers, the Carpathian landscape becomes a breathtaking blaze of colour. Botanist John Aykroyd has been coming here every summer for decades and works to encourage the preservation of the hay meadows that supply a unique canvas for this kaleidoscope of wildflowers.
We're in a hay meadow. This is a farmer's meadow, and it's a working farm. And in order to protect this meadow, we need first of all to protect the farmer, his family and the farming community, and to bring them into the 21st century without destroying what they have created over hundreds of years, thousands of years.
Yeah.
They're never going to be mainstream, but they have an amazing niche market in a world where people want good quality food and they don't want sort of pesticide residues and what have you. This is such a clean environment, and people would pay a premium for this. People in Romania say they love coming to stay in some of the villages and having the sort of food their grannies or aunties made them years ago. And this is terribly important, I think. They have some of the best jam I've ever had, some of the best honey I've ever had. They have wonderful milk here. All the milk in the hotels comes from Austria or Hungary or Poland. It's crazy.
This is a major problem that people are selling, for example, watermelons from Turkey.
Yes.
When you produce some of the best watermelons in Romania that you can have anywhere. And a lot of the organic produce that grows here is not capitalised on it. People aren't making the most of it.
What's nice is that they still make jam from, well, I call it bottled biodiversity. They make jam from wild strawberries, wild blackberries, bilberries from the mountains, cornelian cherries, sour cherries from the woods, this sort of thing. And that shows that the biodiversity can support the rural economy just as it did through centuries. For example, in the Saxon villages where we are now, the village houses are big. They sometimes have 2, even 3 stories. Those aren't the houses of very poor people. These people were once prosperous. And I feel that it could be the same again if they were encouraged to use the land wisely.
Obviously, education has got a big part to play in this, because in places that are remote in Romania, people can actually go and buy organic cheese or organic fruit and veg that's been grown locally, and it won't cost them so much.
Absolutely. The thing I often get is, oh, you come here to look at our wildflowers. Surely your wildflowers in Britain must be better. No, they're not. We've destroyed, well, we never had so many anyway. This place is naturally very rich. And then we've gradually destroyed them all. And it terrifies me that that could happen here. And it would be such a waste. The Romanians have one of the most precious resources of biodiversity in Europe, if not in the world. And they really must protect it. It made this country rich.
Carpathia provides a habitat for over 2/3 of Europe's wolves and bears. Its rich biodiversity and eye-watering beauty also draws people here from around the globe to walk and hike amongst endless forests and rugged plateaus. For friend and environmentalist Alex Gavan, this was the landscape of his childhood, and one that inspired him to climb some of the highest peaks in the world.
That was a nice climb.
Yeah.
Gentle, but very beautiful.
Want some water?
No. Got nurses.
Oh my God.
Do you want a beer?
No, I'd love to join you, Charlie, on this, but I'm on training.
You're in training.
I think I'll stick to my water.
As you can probably tell, I'm not in training, so
Yeah.
cheers.
Rock.
Talking of bears, have you had any close encounters?
I think I met bear maybe 30 times in the wild. A couple of years ago, after a difficult winter climb in Bucegi with one of my friends, we were at a restaurant in the upper Sinaia, and mother bear with her 3 cubs, they were coming close to the restaurant, you know, to look for the garbage. What I did was to throw stone in their direction. Yeah, exactly. Why? Because if they get to be too familiar with humans, after they
grew up,
They
this
put
will be a
themselves in
big
danger. Yeah.
danger for them. There are a lot of people complaining by the damage the bears in Romania and the wolves are doing to the grazing sheep, for example, in the mountains. But you know, comparing with the numbers of these animals, the damage they are doing to the livestock, it's minor. I mean, for you as a Romanian state to just compensate these people who lose the animals, it's nothing comparing with the treasure of this wildlife still being there, you know.
I think also they need to make it easier for the shepherds, for example, who lose their livestock to get compensated, because many of them can't fill in the appropriate forms, they don't know how to do it, so they get more shepherd dogs instead, which means that then there's impact on the bear numbers and baby bears.
Exactly.
And this escalates.
Yeah. You know, I don't want my children to only see bears at the zoo or in the books. I mean, it's great when we get to the base of the forest, you know, we have big chance then to see a bear. That is something extraordinary.
The problem is they're losing their habitat, as we both know, at 3 hectares an hour.
Yeah, exactly. The rate of deforestation in Romania is dramatic, and actually increased in the last years from like 30 cases like 4 years ago to almost 100 cases of illegal logging recorded per day last year. You know, according to an environmental investigation agency report, around 60% of all the wood that comes out from the Romanian forest is illegal in one way or another. So this is huge, I think.
Do you think the future's green for your great-grandchildren? I mean, do you think they'll be able to sit up here and look out to the far horizon and just see forest?
That's a good question. And as you know, I am an incurable optimist.
You are.
Yes, but in order for this green future to be a reality and for us to succeed, we must realize, us as a country, us as mankind, that the forest is not timber, the wildlife is not game, and for us to succeed, we must not be few.
As the frantic bloom of spring relaxes towards summer, the wheel of life comes full circle, and we reach the end of our journey.
And we finish our odyssey in the Retezat Mountains near here, the castle that Jules Verne wrote about with such passion. Because life is an unfolding story, and each year the story repeats itself. It becomes a little less colourful. There's fewer species and less of the natural world remains to celebrate it. So it's down to us. We can pressure the authorities to do more to protect Romania's natural and cultural resources, and to curb the efforts of big business to exploit its precious heritage. We can choose long-term prosperity over short-term gain, and safeguard this fragile paradise for future generations. Or we can fall into the same traps as the rest of Europe and destroy the very things that make this country unique.